Hi guys, and welcome back to part 2 of Scrumping the Hedgerow. In this episode, I make the classic dish, or classic British dish anyway, of blackberry and apple crumble. And I make it with blackberries picked from the hedgerow, and also I make it with crab apples picked from the hedgerow. This video is really a bit of a leader into what's coming up. As I said in the previous episode, that there won't be quite so many as off-the-cut videos coming up, so I'm going to intermingle them with some cooking videos, and what better way to do it with British classics. So I'm going to be cooking some of the old British classic foods, possibly with a little bit of a twist, and cook my way rather than perhaps some traditional ways. I think to add flavour, but we'll see how it goes. So, without further ado, let's get on with the video. Well, you know by now that I love to do a little bit of foraging. I've just moored up for a bite of lunch. I thought, let's see what we can find along the hedgerow. And straight away, we have some blackberries, just a couple there. Now, I'm not going to pick these, but I know these are hawthorn berries, and I know you can grind these down to like a paste and dry it and make what's known as hawthorn leather. I've never tried it, and to be quite honest with you, I don't really want to go through all the work trying to make it. We'll just come along another few feet. Here we have crab apples. Now I'm definitely going to pick some of these. I think we're a bit late here. This is a plum tree, I think. There's no plums. They're not ripe yet, but the rose hip can be used for various things. Perhaps we'll pick some later on in the season and make some tea. Now we actually have a different variety of blackberry here. Just going to pick a couple of these. I'll show you what I mean. Look at the difference in the pip sizes. Here's some more crab apples. Actually, these are rather sizable as well. Look at these. These are a decent size, and you could actually make an apple crumble or pie with these, or blackberry and apple. Now that's an idea. I might have to make a blackberry and apple crumble. Let's see if we can find some more blackberries. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? Some more blackberries. Oh, we have a different variety of apple here. Look, these ones have some colour to them. Let's pick some. They're not quite as large as those other ones. That one's obviously ripe. Look at them. And even more apples here. Look at them grown in here. Look. There's hundreds of them. And here's another fruit. If anyone likes sloe gin, these are your sloes for your sloe gin. Look at them. And we come to more blackberries, and this is a different variety again by the looks. And maybe the same as the first one earlier. There's at least 3 or 4 different varieties of blackberries that grow in the wild here in the UK. There's possibly more, I just don't know them all. When people think blackberries are blackberries, they're not. There's lots of different ones. Well, I'm definitely going to make myself a blackberry and apple crumble. Which I'll show you me making later. You can't beat it, can you? Free food. And it's abundant this year. Absolutely abundant. I've never seen so many blackberries before. I was coming past Leamington Spa yesterday, and the blackberries grown were huge. They looked like cultivated ones, they were so big. Well, now it's time to make that blackberry and apple crumble I've been talking about. I've never made one before using crab apples, so let's see how it goes. From a famous line, from a famous TV presenter, what can go wrong? You may also notice that this wasn't filmed the same day as I made the plum jam. One of my keen-eyed viewers suggested that my Stone Age weighing scales were made from my bunk beds I took apart, and he was correct. So anyway, since then I've been out and purchased some digital scales I've come up in the world, so the Stone Age weighing scales can now be chopped up for firewood once I get my fire installed very shortly. Well, you've seen me pick the apples, it's crab apples and blackberries from the hedgerow. It's now to make something with them, and I'm going to make a good old British classic, blackberry and apple crumble. Here we have the apples I picked, looking like apples, I guess. I have kept them for a couple of days to let them sweeten up a little bit. And here we have the blackberries I picked. Let's get on and make the crumble. I have a regular casserole dish here. To that casserole dish, I'm going to add, if I can open it, I don't use these things very often. This is what I'm going to use, is some of this Easy Lemon or whatever it's called. Cheapy stuff from Aldi. A few squirts of that. And I'm going to put in there, you have to trust me on this, a little water, you can probably hear it anyway. Some water. And I'm going to peel the apples, and I'm going to put the peeled apple in there. The lemon juice should stop them discolouring. Normally the less sugar content in the apple, the quicker they discolour. So let's see how we go. So I'll move that off the board. So I'll peel the apples. I'm using a potato peeler, as you can see here. Some people just use a paring knife. I just find a potato peeler as easy as anything. And of course you may have one of those fancy apple peelers. Just pop them in and does it all for you. I live on a boat, I don't have one of those. So we're going to have lots of apples to peel here. So I'm going to chop these apples up just like you would chop up normal apples. Remove the core. And I'm just going to chop them into pieces, like so, and put in my water. I'll come back to you in a moment. It's going to take quite a long time to cut and peel all these apples, so I'll rejoin you once I've done that. Right, big pile of peelings. Apples are all diced up in the bowl. They're stay fairly good colour. Look at the different colours though, different apples in there. There's all sorts of different colours. But Most of them are sort of this yellowy green colour. As you can see, the peelings here, how brown they went. So I'm glad I put that lemon juice in there. What I'm going to do now is drain them off. Actually, I'm going to get the colander. I'm going to drain them off in the colander. And as you may have noticed there, when I was cutting them up, I put them into the casserole dish. Reason being is that way I knew roughly how many apples I needed to make my blackberry and apple crumble. I know they'll cook down a little bit. That's okay. So we're going to let them sit there a moment. 1 saucepan. I'm just going to try and get most of the water off. I'm going to get most of the water off of these because I don't want to go mushy. You know, I don't want all juice in my crumble. I don't want it all boiling over. So I'm going to cook these first, just for a little bit. So we're going to put those into the saucepan there. So we have them in the saucepan there. Now we're going to get our blackberries. Here's my blackberries I picked. I'm not going to wash the blackberries. A little controversial with some people, but I don't want to make them wet. And they're getting cooked, so anything that's nasty on them is going to get killed anyway. So blackberries go in with the apples. Let's just tidy up here a little bit. Get this out of the way. Clean that up for the moment. Now, here we have our blackberries and apples and everything. Now, I've got no real idea on how sweet these apples are, so I don't know how much sugar to put in. Here's my sugar. I'm going to start off with 2 tablespoonfuls, I think. I'm just using plain white granulated sugar. So we're going to start off with 2 tablespoonfuls. Put them on the gas. Light the gas. I'm going to grab a wooden spoon. 1 wooden spoon. And I don't want them burning to the bottom of the pan. So I've got them on low at the moment. Now the moisture will start coming out of the blackberries and the apples. Now if you don't have any lemon juice, don't worry about it too much if you're making blackberry and apple crumble. The blackberries stain the apples anyway, so you wouldn't even actually notice. The reason I'm cooking the apples a little bit first is I don't know how much moisture is in them. And as I say, I don't want a soggy crumble. And also I don't know how sweet they are, how much sugar to add. So by cooking them slightly first, I can taste it and see how much more sugar I need to add before I make it into the crumble. Apples are already turning purple. I've got a little moisture now on the bottom of the pan, so it's not going to burn. I'm just going to put the lid on that for a second, so they'll steam and cook a little quicker. Right, they've been now cooking away for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to check on them. Steaming away here. There's quite a lot of juice already forming in the bottom there. I know there would be because of the blackberries. And what I do want to do, I want to sample a piece. It's probably just going to need a touch more sugar, but I'm going to let them cook down a little bit more before I make that decision. Now, for my American friends, if you're making this, you're probably going to want to add some cinnamon. I know in America you put cinnamon in your apples. I personally cannot stand the taste of cinnamon. So for me, I'm going to do it very much the British way. I'm going to come to my spices here. Here we go. Some whole cloves. And I'm going to pop a couple of cloves in. I'm only going to put 2 in. I don't want to change the flavour of the blackberry and apple too much. But adding clove is very much more an English way than adding cinnamon. Although I do believe a lot of people these days do also add cinnamon. Right, so that's my apples and blackberries now cooked a little bit. I'm not going to completely cook them. I don't want them to start falling apart and losing their shape completely. They smell absolutely delicious. Oh, the aroma is absolutely unbelievable. So, now to get on with the rest of it. I'm just going to leave the lid off of those so the little steam will actually reduce down a little bit. Put that to one side. Oh, not yet. I'll do another taste test, haven't I? So, a little piece of apple. Yeah, that's sugar is just about perfect for me. I don't like it too sweet. Now for the crumble. One mixing bowl, quite a large mixing bowl as you can see. The reason why it's a very large mixing bowl, it came with the boat. Now since I made the plum jam, which was a few days ago, I decided if I wanted to make this recipe, my Stone Age scales probably weren't going to actually do it very well. So, yes, I invested in some scales. So I'm going to put those down. I'm going to put the bowl on it. Let's turn it on first. Now I'm going to need my glasses, of course, because I can't see it. Glasses on. Bowl on. 0. We're at 0. For this recipe, it requires 150 grams of plain flour. So we're going to add 150 grams. That's about 6 ounces for my American friends. $150 grams. To 150 grams of flour, we need to add 100 grams of butter. So we need to take that up now to 250 grams, of course. So I have a piece of butter here. This is probably not 100 grams, but that's certainly not 4 ounces here, but I have some more butter in the fridge. Just using up the old one first. And as you see, I'm going to put it in small pieces because this needs rubbing into the flour. We're now at 207. So some more butter. Now I'm going to keep an eye on it to see where we go. 250 grams I need to go up to, don't I? 241. Probably about that much. Not quite, that's 247. A little bit more. It actually says 251, but I'm going to settle for that. Now this is the boring bits. I'm now going to rub the butter into the flour. And because my butter, of course, just came out of the refrigerator, it's very firm. So I should have used softened butter, of course. But, oh well. So I'm going to rub that in. And I'll come back to you again once I've done that in a few minutes. Right, I'm back. Here's my, well, they're supposed to look like fine breadcrumbs. Close enough to me. Oh, and I forgot to say that the butter is unsalted butter. Now we need to add the sugar. Now we're going to get the scales back here. They've actually gone off, but doesn't matter. I'm going to zero them there. I need 85 grams of sugar, and I'm going to use soft brown sugar. Soft brown sugar. And we want 85 grams. 20 something. 44. 59. 85 exactly. Now, this is that I add, and I have seen it in recipes as well. I'm going to add some porridge oats. 1 bag of porridge oat. I don't need the scales for this because I'm not going to actually weigh the oat. I'm going to use 2 tablespoonfuls, basically heaped tablespoonfuls of porridge oats. 1, 2. That just makes it really extra crunchy crumble. What I'm going to do is just mix all that in, like so. keeping some air in there, and we're going to put that to one side for a second. Bring back in our casserole dish, and I'm going to use a slotted spoon for this. I'm going to put this in with a slotted spoon. The reason for that is I don't want all the juices going in. I'm going to put some in. Actually, I might be putting them all in. There's not as many here as I thought there was going to be. The reason I don't want too many juices in them, you end up with a soggy crumble and a mess in the oven. I'm going to put in, actually it will take them all. I'm just going to spread my apples and blackberries out nicely. Then we'll take our crumble. I'm going to put that in. Now if you're American and you like cinnamon again, you could add some cinnamon to the crumble mix. As I say, I don't like cinnamon, and all I'm going to do is gently move that across. No pething down, just try and make an even covering. And there we go, my apple crumble all ready for the oven. I did look up some recipes for temperature settings for the oven. A little bit controversial, they're rather different ones, but basically all the ones I come up with were between 180 and 190 degrees Celsius. That's between 350 and 370 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere between gas mark 4 and gas mark 5. I'll preheat the oven at gas mark 5 because I can cook the crumble quite quickly, and I want it to go crunchy because I've pre-cooked the fruits. So here's the oven. I've just opened the door so it started flaming away again. It's preheated to gas mark 5. Here's my crumble. I'm going to place it in the oven for about 35 minutes. What I meant to say when I put the crumble in the oven was I would check it after 35 minutes. It would probably take 40 to 45 minutes to cook. I did check it after 35 minutes. It's now nearly 45 minutes, so let's see how it's doing. Oh, I think we're done. I think that looks rather good. Let's get out the oven. While it was in the oven, I've cleaned up around here. I made a lot of mess. There might have been a little bit too much juice in there. It has boiled over a little bit. I'm going to allow it to cool now, and we'll come back in a minute and we will try some. I must admit, it looks very good to me. It's time to try the crumble. Big spoon. And of course, some cream. One spoon. Ends up with a perfect balance there, I believe, between sweetness and tartness with those crab apples. The crab apples have actually stayed very firm. That is nice crunchy topping. That is absolutely delicious. Scrumping the hedgerow. Can't do better than that, can you? Free food. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed eating that apple crumble, or I should say blackberry and apple crumble. It came out really, really well. Well worth trying, and I would definitely make that again. Well, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And don't forget to leave comments. I love reading your comments, and I answer them all, although I do know there's been a few going on just lately that people have told me have not been answered, but I'm pretty sure it's down to eBay not showing them to me when they should. If you really want to help the channel out, consider becoming a Patreon or a member of the channel, or giving a donation via PayPal. That just leaves me to say, thank you very much for watching. Trevor out.